Hi everyone, it's Becky here. So today I'm going to town again. This time I am going to Olympic Village around Main Street, Vancouver. This is Science World. It's very busy with lots of kids and people all ages like to come and walk by here. A lot of people walking with their dogs and people riding bikes. This is the Falls Creek seawall and it's about 3 kilometers long. And a lot of people like to start walking or biking or jogging all the way from here to Granville Island in the distance. It's a really great place just to relax and look at these gorgeous sceneries all around. The Vancouver skyline is in the distance. The stadium is right here in the middle. And I feel so good to be back again after more than 2 years. There's someone kayaking right there. And I found a large bench somewhere around the water, away from the crowd. Yeah, I like to actually be quiet, away from people when I'm sketching. And here are my very simplistic sketching materials, my watercolor palette, 2 fine liner drawing pens, waterproof, and 2 water brushes for painting watercolors, and my watercolor sketchbook. And all the little things fit inside the makeup bag and everything goes inside my backpack. And that's it. So before putting ink lines on paper, I like to spend about 3 minutes to visualize the size and placement of everything. I have a very long panorama in front of me and I had to be selective to think about what to include and what not to include. So I decided to put Science World, or this globe-shaped architecture, on the very right-hand side. So it's a very nice balance. It's much better than putting it in the right middle. And after drawing the circular outline, I'm starting to draw these tiny little triangles. This is a very modern kind of architecture with lots of geometric shapes. And so I'm not copying what's in front of me because it's way too many triangles. I'm just looking at it and then draw from my impression. And this is a very simple but intrinsic pattern of triangles attaching to one another and adding these rails supporting the structure of this globe. So a lot of short little lines and adding a bit of darker accentuations here and there. And adding a little bit detail for the base right underneath the head. Here now I'm drawing the base for the globe. So a lot of squares and rectangles, and these are the windows. So it's filling in those squares with these vertical lines for the windows. Adding some accentuation with dark solid lines. So drawing architectures actually requires a lot of patience, especially an unusual one like this. There are a lot of rails and stairs and all other bars going this way and that way. So lots of observations. And these are the legs that digs into the water that supports the overall globe architecture. Now I'm drawing this bridge. This is actually the bridge, not the horizon line, where the SkyTrain or Metro goes through. And behind, there's the Blue Mountain. Right beside, these are the apartment buildings in the distance on the other side of the bank. I'm using very simple vertical and horizontal short lines to show the windows. And buildings in the far distance, we can always use very simple geometric lines to show their form, and it's pretty convincing to the viewer. There's no need to go into hyper details. And finishing drawing the train bridge, and now I decided to add this little boat in the middle just to draw the viewers in, and another little boat. And keep adding these little details. They're more of short buildings, storage buildings underneath the metro bridge. And I also see some foliage and use multiple black lines to accentuate those dark areas with shade to give this sketch more density too, especially around the middle part. And keep adding some more details on the bottom of Science World. Just adding another boat. This is the very front view. It looks very short. And another one on the very left side. I think these little boats are adding more interest and balance for this pretty empty sketch so far. Adding some ripples. There's another apartment building behind. And the flag. And after the middle ground elements, which are the little boats, I'm beginning to add the foreground elements, these two kayaks, front view, so they look very short and squarish. After that, I'm drawing this stump thing beside it, and this platform where they kind of attach all of the kayaks or boats to this pole or stump thing. And there's a little storage house. I can see through the semi-transparent walls of some kayaks inside this little house. It's kind of like a cube, three-dimensional shape. It's a lot of vertical lines. And the bottom is concrete with some ripples right here in the foreground. Now I'm writing down the date and the date rather than keep drawing more storage houses, which is really blocking the view and competing with Science World right above. So we really don't have to sketch every single object in the scenery. We have to be really selective to create harmony in our sketch. And now I'm ready to paint watercolors. I'm gonna paint the sky first by wetting it with clear water, adding a bit of yellow-orange glow around the horizon. Even though it's a very overcast day, I still sense some sunshine coming through the thick clouds, especially around the horizon. And this overcast sky is actually very interesting and enchanted because it's not flat. It contains layers of dark gray clouds, and in my eyes I see no dead gray but lively grays like purple or bluish grays. So now I just mix my own gray with ultramarine blue and pink purple, wet on wet. It's a pretty diluted mix of ultramarine blue and pink purple to get these layers of clouds sorted out. And use very loose brushstrokes and not overstirring, because if we stir, all of these nice brushstrokes and expressions are gone, so no overstirring. There's no need to match exactly as what's there, but we do need to express the energy and express our feelings of what we see, even though we're not matching exactly what's there. And just painting another layer of more intense purple blue with less water and more paint pigment, just to create more contrast in the sky. And now I'm grabbing more pigments of ultramarine blue, a little bit cerulean blue and pink purple, less water mixed in, so this mountain is supposed to look more dense compared to the clouds above. And now I'm getting ready to paint the water area by wetting it with clear water. So the purpose of wetting the area first with clear water is that the paint is gonna get more translucent this way rather than solid. As you can see right now, the paint is looking very smooth and feathery, and it's blooming a little bit to suggest the looseness of water. And I'm not painting in every single space of the water area, leaving some gaps to show the highlights in between the ripples. Wet on wet, second layer of colors, the mix of blues and greens to get this turquoise color, less water, so it's more intense. And now I'm adding another layer for the mountain, same color mixture, just so it looks very, very intense, standing out from the sky. Now I'm just letting the water area to dry a bit before adding some more detailed ripples Now I'm adding some warm yellows and oranges, very important, because most of this scenery contains cold colors. And these warm colors like oranges and red and browns are pretty important to bring more life to this sketch. And these are the colors of the buildings that I see in the distance. And grabbing some green and blue to paint the glassy apartment buildings in the distance. And also this part of Science World is also very glassy with lots of turquoise, greens and blues. A little bit purple there. And adding some more intense red here and there around the base of Science World, and to spice up this sketch a bit more. Yep, just adding dots and dashes of reds as I see around the building. And now I'm using a leftover gray or the mix of ultramarine blue and pink purple to paint this metallic globe. So just use very simple little dots, skipping around a little bit to leave some bright white highlight spots, because this is a metallic building. And also adding some greens for the trees growing on there. Very interesting. They have trees on the balcony. And keep adding some more green on top of the first layer of grays, because metallic things are sort of reflective of its surroundings. And after that, I'm adding some more detailed and thin ripples with leftover green mixed with blue for these delicate ripples. And also these intense colors are also the reflection of Science World. And adding some more intense colors around the base of the land over there in the distance. Painting this little kayak is red. Again, similar colors really ties this sketch together. As you can see, the kayak, the red color, and the red color of Science World, they kind of unite together, holding this sketch together better. And now I just added some green for the glassy little storage building, and blue purple for the colors of the water right here. Some blue purple for the top of this storage cabin, and for this stump thing too. Mixing a little bit green, because this is metallic too, and paint the reflection, very straightforward. Paint the reflection around the cabin. And quickly painting these little boxes, the side of the little bridge here. Adding some more thin and delicate ripples around the middle to give the water more of a realistic look, using very thin brush strokes. And make sure we do this when the first layer of the water is dried, so these sharp ripples won't get dissolved with the previous layer. And quickly adding some more dense colors here and there, especially around the edges of everything around the bank. And after waiting for another 3 minutes or so for everything to dry, I'm ready to add some more sharper brush strokes, especially around the bank, and some lines to suggest the layers of floors on these apartment buildings with leftover turquoise. And intensify some of the shade areas with more paint pigment and less water, little brush strokes here and there. And just kind of drawing the kayaks inside the storage, because it's semi-transparent. I can see the forms a bit, and intensify the shadows or reflections on the water here. Now using very thin little brush strokes to paint the reflections of the boats. And I also need to paint the reflection of Science World with more dense colors. So again, this is a mix of ultramarine blue, pink, purple, and a little bit green with less water mixed in. And short little brush strokes. Mixing a bit of red here to make it more realistic. And that's it. Here is the look of my finished sketch. It took me about an hour. There's so many little feelings inside me that I wasn't able to do any urban sketching during the 2 years of the pandemic. And now finally I'm out here again and things are looking pretty much the same as before, but the world is never the same again. And moving forward, I hopped to a nearby grocery store. This is also the place that I used to have lunch pretty often when I worked around the preschool in this area. And the food court areas around here. This is the dining area. I like the quotes on the blackboards, and now it's 3 p.m. It's very quiet because the hour after lunch and before dinner, so very quiet. I got a cup of cafe latte and a slice of banana bread for snacks. And I will do a quick sketch of my coffee and snack. And as always, I'm starting with my pen first. Start drawing the opening of the cup using very vague lines by using little pressure to show the foam on top of the coffee and the coffee sleeve and the bottom of the cup. Drawing this Starbucks label very quickly, the little mermaid and the little words and textures on the sleeve. And now I'm drawing the outline of the banana bread after a few bites. This is the 3-dimension line here and there. Adding a bit of hatching and some circles to show the air holes. Yep, a lot of holes, just like any slice of bread. This piece of banana bread is actually a very irregular prism shape, a flat prism shape. And now I'm just writing down the time and the little note. And the sun finally came out, and I forgot to press the button of recording to record the painting process. So here is the look of it. And take a sip of my coffee before I move on. And moving on, I'm gonna sketch the people. There are lots of people walking by outside the window and maybe a little bit of the cityscape behind. And starting with my pen, I see an old man sitting right outside the window on the chair. So I'm going to draw him first. Oh, he actually stood up and walked away. So I might draw someone else sitting on that chair later. Now I am moving toward the middle of this scenery to draw the pole with the street signs. Writing down the name of the streets and the base of the pole with a little bit shade, using hatching. So again, as I mentioned in my previous vlog video, it's very important to draw a pole or a road sign first before we can compare the size of the people with it. So this man is around halfway the height of the pole. Yeah, so here is him standing and waiting on the side of the street. And I just drew the head of another man, but he walked way too fast. So I'm going to fit the body of someone else underneath that head. Okay, so now I'm going to slow down the drawing process so I can explain better. So I find it easy to draw the top of the head, the hair first, the forehead, and the eyes around the same level at the middle of the ear. The eyeglasses connecting to the top of the ear, the nose, his mustache, and the collar is right behind. And his shoulder, the zipper, and the hoodie attached to the collar. Lots of shade around the back of his neck. His face is in the sun and his neck is against the sunshine. And yeah, that's pretty much it for his face. Now just adding some little short pen lines to suggest the texture of his hair, which is all white. And he's shading the back of the collar, and now I'm just adding the wrinkles of the fabric on his jacket. So all humans wearing fabric clothes, they have wrinkles. And just drawing the chair behind his back. That's pretty much it for this man. I think I captured him. He was sitting very still. That was very helpful for my drawing process. And now I'm drawing this lady coming crossing the street. Doing that very quickly, also from memory, because she walked past by in 5 seconds. So a lot of memory work. The more you draw people from real life, the better you'll get. And another woman behind her. And now just drawing another woman in hat, in a thick winter jacket, and her legs. As you can see, these people, they're in different sizes. The old man is in the foreground, so he's the largest human figure. And the woman crossing the street, they're in the middle ground, so medium size. And the man standing back there is in the far background, so like this one, very small. And he's walking his dog. So different sizes really create a sense of distance and space. Here's another girl. And I'm gonna wait for another girl to come by to finish the body. So drawing these electricity boxes behind these people. Here's another girl came by, just finished drawing the torso and the legs. And these are the modern installations of lights in pointy shapes. And another pole here. And now I'm starting to use these very loose lines to draw the trees and the foliage and the distance, mainly tree branches and twigs. I'm just kind of summarizing what I see very quickly, rather than just copying what's there, because it's just a whole mass of stuff in the distance, just to keep it very clean. And also using very simple straight lines to draw the apartment building behind, just giving a really kind of sense of vagueness for things in the distance. And now I'm ready to paint watercolors again. So I think I'm going to paint the background first, just wetting the area first with clear water and blending on some warm yellow to show the sunshine in the sky in the far distance. And putting on some blue for the apartment building and some leftover purple blues for the shade on the apartment building. And as you can see, painting very loosely, especially for things in the distance. We don't need to draw and paint in hyper details. And just painting these actually modern style lamp posts and electric boxes behind. And keep adding some of these blurry definitions for the apartment buildings in the real far distance on the other side of the bank by adding these simple blocks of colors. And now I'm using thin brush strokes to show the glassy windows of the apartment building, adding shadows for these people walking on the street. And now I think I'm ready to paint the old man. So first layer is a mix of yellow ochre and a little bit of red, wet on wet, some pretty vibrant red for his cheeks. A lot of seniors, they have kind of a red skin. And now painting the color of his jacket by mixing radiant green or any dark green with brown or burnt sienna, leaving little bright streaks to show the highlight. And another layer just to add more interest and a variety of intensity of green. And quickly painting the jackets of these people walking on the street. From memory, actually a lot of these people were wearing grays, blacks, and dark blue colored jackets. So I'm just using the leftover colors I have, the greens and the purple blues. And when coloring these people's outfits, I like to use very similar colors because, most people, they're just wearing pretty much the same color clothes. But for the woman in the middle, I decided to paint her jacket yellow just to bring an interest to this sketch, to attract the viewer's attention into this sketch. And that's pretty much it. And I finished 2 pages in one afternoon, so that's about 2 hours of work. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you like my video, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. I update my channel 2 to 3 times a week. And I will see you again very soon. And stay a little bit longer if you want to see the Vancouver cityscape a little bit as I go home. So this part of the cityscape is actually very challenging to sketch with a lot of modern architectures, and this area is actually newly developed around 10 to 12 years ago, before the start of the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. So lots of brand new apartment buildings and cafes and stores, a lot of overlappings of urban structures, and that makes it pretty challenging to sketch around. And here I'm walking to the SkyTrain or metro, and there's a busker here singing. And it turned out to be a really sunny day later in the day, and here is Fraser River below the Alex Fraser Bridge on the bus home.